say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the campus of Washburn University. My name is Marshall Meek, the president of the Washburn University Alumni Association and Foundation. We have a lot of people to thank today, but before we begin that, I want to thank the Washburn Music Department for that amazing rendition of our national anthem. And I want to thank the Washburn Rural Air Force ROTC under the direction of Lieutenant Colonel Ron Daniels for the presentation of the colors. Also, as all of you are arriving immediately prior to our ceremony today, we were honored to have the Standing Bear Intertribal Brotherhood do the ceremonial cleansing and smudging of this site. They're over there. And finally, let's thank the Highland Park Air Force Junior ROTC under the direction of Senior Master Sergeant Scott Moser for their assistance with the memorial wreaths. This place where we're gathered today is a very special place on our campus. Over here, behind that enormous oak tree, is the university's flagpole and the plaque that goes with it. It was dedicated in memory of those who fought in the Civil War by President William Howard Taft in 1911. Behind you, across the great lawn, is the Memorial Union. It was dedicated a few generations later in 1951 to memorialize those from Washburn and from Shawnee County who gave their lives in World War I, World War II, and Korea. And a generation after that, in 1988, a passionate group of students, staff, and veteran alumni dedicated this site to the 47 Washburn students who lost their lives in Vietnam. That memorial, for the last several years, for the last decades, has served us very well, but it aged, and a new generation of students, administrators, and veteran alumni came forward and began talking about refurbishing it or doing something new with the space. And as they talked, the idea started to grow, and it grew beyond just patching up the old memorial and refurbishing it. Led by Washburn Veterans Committee and Chris Bowers of Washburn's Military Success Center, they started imagining a memorial that could serve as a central site for all veteran remembrance on campus. If you're a part of that Washburn's Veterans Committee, also Chris Bowers, and under the leadership of Dr. Eric Grosspitch, would you all please stand so we can recognize you for a second? Thank you all for your service and your vision for this project and your perseverance. This memorial highlights the names of those lost in Vietnam, but it also includes memorials for all other conflicts and for each branch of the military, plus the nurses and medical personnel who served and sacrificed for our freedom. This idea for a memorial that was so inclusive like this really came to life under the leadership of Dr. Jerry Farley and his wife Susan. Dr. Farley, as I'm sure many of you know, is a veteran himself, a former trainer of drill sergeants, and he pushed the idea forward and really helped to refine the concept. And then, as if that wasn't enough, he and Susan stepped forward with a lead gift, a challenge gift, that really propelled the fundraising campaign and ensured our success. Jerry and Susan, we thank you both so much for your leadership on this project. Now, if I could editorialize for a minute, I will say from experience, not all fundraising campaigns are created equal. Some of them are quick and easy, and others aren't. The campaign for this site must have set some kind of a record, and it was a good record. It was the good kind. After the challenge gift from the Farleys was announced, the gifts came pouring in support of this concept. And in a little over a month, the Farley challenge had been met, and donors had contributed nearly $125,000 towards the $150,000 needed for the project. And that is when John and Christina Dietrich stepped up with a gift to finish the campaign. In addition to being vice chair of our Board of Regents, John served 2 tours in Vietnam as a U.S. Army helicopter pilot. He and his wife Christina did not hesitate to make the commitment to make this project go. John and Christina, thank you both so much for your passion for this cause. In total, more than 80 donors contributed a total of $150,000 to this campaign. Can we give all of those 80 donors a round of applause? I know many of you are here today. I also want to thank the following for their hand in making today happen. Falk Architects, who came up with the design and plans for the site, Kelly Construction, the contractor overseeing construction here, and Hutton Monuments, who not only did the granite stones and the statue, but Chris Hutton also was incredibly generous, lending his personal time, support, and expertise to this project. Thank you, Chris, and all of you. And finally, I want to thank Washburn University's Board of Regents and the Foundation Board of Trustees. I know there are a lot of you in the audience today. Once the plan for this project started to crystallize, you did not hesitate to throw your full and unanimous support behind it. So for all of the trustees and regents in the audience today, we say thank you too. It's our sincere hope that this memorial continues to serve our entire region as an important Kansas site of veteran remembrance for many, many years to come. And to that end, we're pleased to be joined by a special guest this morning. Senator Roger Marshall not only represents Kansas in Congress, but is also a veteran himself. So it's my pleasure to introduce Senator Roger Marshall.
Wow. Topeka, Washburn University, you've done it again. This memorial is stunning. I was on campus several times over the past year, and I had no idea this is what it would end up looking like. But it certainly, as I go through just to see it for the first time, I can tell you it caused me to stop and pause. The granite memorials, the statue, the flags, you did. This is just amazing. How about my veterans in the audience? Would you stand for just a second if you're a veteran, my fellow veterans? Thank you, sincerely, thank you for your service, and thank you for the families that stood beside them as well. Marshall, congratulations to you and your team for putting this together. Dr. Farley and Mrs. Farley, your fingerprints, of course, will be on this university campus for centuries to come, including this memorial. John and Christina Dietrich, thank you for your leadership. And John, thank you for your service. And I can't help but think that the people you serve with, that this is a memory to those people. And I wouldn't be surprised if you lost some of those people. So thank you for honoring them as well. Most every community in Kansas has some type of veterans memorial to honor those who have served. And as I travel across the state, I think I've stopped at every one. Each one of those serves as an inspiration. I spend a lot of time in nameless hotels and drinking coffee on the run, but I always try to stop at each one of those memorials. It reminds me of why I'm doing this job, why I'm serving. It reminds me of how the communities across the state of Kansas remember and honor those who have served this great nation. And I couldn't be prouder to be here today at Washburn University, a university that prides itself as a premier veteran and military-friendly higher institution of learning and annually receives the designation as a Purple Heart University. Thanks for helping make the transition from military to the civilian world a priority for all our men and women who wore the uniform. And again, across the state of Kansas, I run into so many people that served in the military, and Washburn University was their choice to make that bridge between military service and ready to go back for a professional life. On this Veterans Day, now it's 112 years, as Marshall mentioned, 112 years after the sitting President of the United States, William Howard Taft, was here to dedicate a flagpole to honor those who died in the Civil War. And I'm honored to be here today and join the Washburn University faculty and your students, the alumni, your foundation, and again this community of Topeka to dedicate this memorial to all who have served. Today and for years to come, we and others will stop and pause to honor current and former students and teachers who are serving or who have served in our military. And of course, this is our state's capital, and this memorial will be a destination stopping place to those who visit the capital city. And this is a chance for us all to show our gratitude to the currently over 100,000 veterans who call Kansas home. Today, as the son and brother of a veteran, my son is leaving for overseas soon. I understand the sacrifice families make too. It's a great honor to be here today. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Senator. And now to formally dedicate this memorial, I would like to invite up Washburn University President Dr. JuliAnn Mazachek.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, Senator Marshall, for being here today. And thanks to all of you for being here to dedicate a memorial that we are so very proud of and we know will serve not only our campus community but our local community, as Senator Marshall shared, as a remembrance of all of the service and dedication of people that have come before us. So Washburn has always been committed to being a military-friendly university, and we are proud of that. We regularly, as Senator Marshall said, earn the designation as military-friendly in the annual Guide to Military-Friendly Schools, and we were, in fact, the first school in Kansas to earn the distinction of being a Purple Heart University in recognition of Washburn's continued service to veterans and members of the military. And our Military Student Success Center has become a model for Division II universities across the nation. As a mother, I too have a son in the Air Force who is deployed overseas, and I am also from a family that has many dedicated, long-serving, currently serving soldiers and airmen. And I have always been so proud to be a part of a university that understands what it means to not only honor veterans and service members, but to truly support them. It goes even deeper than that, though. Service, sacrifice, and working towards something greater than ourselves is a fundamental part of Washburn's DNA. Our motto, non nobis salum, not for ourselves alone, animates everything we do. It is also a concept that is at the heart of military service and a huge part of what we honor when we commemorate veterans. Marshal Meek pointed out some of the wonderful sites right around us dedicated to those concepts and the men and women who have died in defense of liberty for this country. But it goes way beyond any one site, even one as meaningful and grand as this. Our entire university is a commemoration of those concepts. We were founded in 1865, 2 months before the Civil War finally ended. Many of our founders were bleeding Kansas veterans who had vigorously taken up arms in defense of liberty. As most of you probably know, we were originally named Lincoln College to honor our commander-in-chief at that time, but probably not many of you have actually read our Articles of Incorporation. If you'll indulge me, I'd like to read the beginning of that founding document to you, just like we read to every new faculty and staff member at Washburn. It is very appropriate to what we are celebrating here today. Article 1, the very first, states that the trustees of Lincoln College move to establish an institution of learning of a high literary and religious character and to, quote, commemorate our triumph of liberty over slavery in our nation and serve as a memorial of those fallen in defense of their country, end quote. To commemorate the triumph of liberty and serve as a memorial of those fallen in defense of their country, from the very beginning, that has always been who we are and what we do at Washburn. To this day, we constantly strive to instill in our students the sense of service towards something greater than themselves that our veterans typify, non nobis salum. And to our veterans themselves, Washburn is there and is here for you. Those who have been lost will not be forgotten. And those that have returned, we are there to assist you in any way that we can. We are so proud to dedicate this memorial here today, which represents all of that and more. So I'm going to say thank yous again also, because it's so important to recognize the people who've made this possible. So I want to thank the Washburn Veterans Committee, Dr. Grossbitch, and everyone who helped to make this happen. Thank you, Marshal Meek and your team. Thank you, Dr. Farley and Susan, for your leadership, for your unwavering leadership and support of this project and everything we've done at Washburn, and for your service to our country. Thank you, John and Christina Dietrich, for stepping up and helping us realize this magnificent vision today. John, thank you for your dedicated service to our country. And most of all, I want to thank you, veterans. This memorial stands as a permanent reminder of your example, and it will stand as a testament to your spirit of service, one that Washburn always strives to honor and commemorate. Thank you. I hope all of you have a chance to join us at 11:11 in the Washburn Room of the Memorial Union for our formal Veterans Day ceremony. But now, to officially close today's ceremony, it is my pleasure to introduce Captain Herschel Stroud and Captain J. Stevenson, who will render taps. If you could please stand. And I want to thank you for being here today as we dedicate this memorial. Thank you again.
Washburn has a history of serving and supporting our veterans from our founding in 1865 when we made admitting Union veterans and their dependents a priority to today when we continue to show our respect to students lost in Vietnam and our American Armed Forces with a new memorial. I hope you were all able to attend dedication ceremony we had for our new memorial this morning, and including supporting this annual ceremony, Washburn stands proudly with our veterans. We're happy to have all of you join us today. It is always a special time to pause and reflect as a community on the important contribution and sacrifices of our veterans. I'd like to thank the Topeka West JROTC for joining us today as they handed out the programs as you entered the room. Also joining us today is Reverend Richard Souter. He is going to join me to help us get started with a blessing in just a moment. Reverend Souter is a veteran who served in Vietnam and the Middle East. He retired as a chaplain with the rank of major with 32 years of service, serving in the United States Air Force, Kansas Army National Guard, and the United States Army Reserves. He is now the pastor of the Grantville United Methodist Church. Please help me welcome Reverend Souter.
Oh, thank you. If you would pray with me, would you bow your head? Holy Creator God, our founders relied upon you and your providence as they wrote. We hold these words to be self-evident. We are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Our nation has been protected by your blessings. Today we pause to honor the men and women who answered the call to defend, to protect, and to preserve these rights. Each one sacrificed their youth, their families, their bodies, and some gave all. May your Holy Spirit preserve those in your care and continue to protect those who gave so much. We beseech you to give strength to all who stand their time in the traditions of our service to this nation. Your blessings to everyone who even today continue to serve, to protect our nation toward the words of our founders when they said, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I pray this in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Souter. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. JuliAnn Mazachek, the president of Washburn University. Dr. Mazachek has been a true friend and supporter to our veterans and student veterans over her tenure at Washburn University, and she is a proud mother of a son serving in the Air Force. Please help me welcome Dr. Mazachek to the stage.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us for Washburn University's 36th Annual Veterans Day ceremony. It is truly my privilege to be speaking with you on such an important occasion. We are here today to honor our service members, to remember the sacrifices they and their families have made, and to remember the courage it takes to defend honor, duty, and country. We started this morning by dedicating our new Veterans Memorial, and I know many of you joined us there also. From Washburn's very beginning, we have been an institution that strives to commemorate our triumph of liberty over slavery in our nation and serve as a memorial of those fallen in defense of their country. We do this by maintaining veterans memorials on campus like the new Veterans Memorial. We also seek to ensure we are meeting this goal by being a military-friendly university that welcomes and supports our veteran students, and I am so proud of that. And we accomplish this by continuing to host events like the annual Veterans Day ceremony. We are here today to honor our heroes, our veterans who unselfishly placed their lives on the line for our freedom. We will remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and we say thank you for the sacrifices. Those men and women are ordinary people. They are sons and daughters, moms and dads, brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles, friends, and others with ordinary dreams until they heard the call of duty and they answered it. They left their families, their homes, and their lives, not for recognition or fame or even the honor that we bestow upon them today. They fought to protect our country, to guard our way of life, to defend our freedoms, and to follow the call to service. Thinking of the heroes who join us in this group today and those who are here only in spirit, a person cannot help but feel awed by the enormity of what these men and women do and have done. We stand in the midst of true patriots and the family and friends of those who have so nobly and selflessly served. At this time, I'd like to ask the service members and the veterans who are here to please stand. Thank you for answering the call to duty. You have made our armed forces the most respected in the world, and we are truly grateful for your service. Thank you. Now, I'd also like to thank the family members of any service member and ask you to. There's a lot of us who can stand in here, I think. Thank you for all that you do to support our service members and to go through the difficult times when they are absent and to take the heavy load and keep the home fires burning. Thank you for all that you've done to support our country. The service members we honor today come from all walks of life, but they share several essential qualities. They possess courage, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty and integrity, and pride in our country. All the qualities needed to serve a cause that's larger than oneself. Many of them didn't ask to leave their homes to fight on distant battlefields. Many didn't even volunteer. They didn't go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extraordinary times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation that has given them, us, so very much. Today, our troops continue to make the ultimate sacrifices. And even as we lose troops, more Americans step forward to say, I'm ready to serve. They follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans. As my brother-in-law, General Thomas Polinsky, reminds me often, 1% of our citizens make the sacrifice today and follow the call to duty to protect the freedoms of the 99%. It is with honor and courage that they and you continue to serve. People throughout the country will gather together to remember, honor, and pay gratitude to those who have served. Your presence here today and that of the people gathering all across America today and tomorrow is a tribute to those lost troops and to their families. It is a way to say we remember. Our debt to these heroes can never be repaid, but our gratitude and respect last forever. So thank you very much for attending today. God bless you and your families. God bless our troops, and God bless America.
Thank you, Dr. Mazachek. We appreciate you being here today and taking time from your schedule to speak to us. Someone else who is taking time out of his schedule to speak with us today is our keynote speaker, Colonel George Webb. Colonel Webb grew up in an Army family. He graduated from West Point in 1972 before he began his own active duty career of 31 years as an Army officer of the Armor aviator, ranger, and parachutist career. He has served in Germany, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq, as well as in the United States. He retired from the Army in 2003 as a colonel. He then served as an executive officer of the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs. He is a lifetime member of the Military Officers Association of America, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Disabled American Veterans. He is a 20-year member of the Capital City Chorus, which will sing for us later in the ceremony. Georgia is married to the former Rita McCrary of Russell, Kansas. They have 4 children. Please help me welcome Colonel Webb.
Dr. Mazachek, everybody from Washburn, all the participants, the Capital City Chorus, my home team, and all you wonderful veterans out there, thank you. I'm glad to be able to talk with you today. I'm not a graduate of Washburn, but I did take advantage of the Old People Resident Program for auditing and 4 semesters of intermediate French. And my son graduated from Washburn Law School, who now serves on active duty. So it's good to be back here. Washburn is truly a jewel to this community, and it's truly a jewel to the state of Kansas. So happy Veterans Day. And by the way, happy Marine Corps birthday. I was told not to forget that. Today is a celebration and an opportunity to say thanks and to have camaraderie. It's not Memorial Day, which is much more somber as we remember those who made the supreme sacrifice. This is a happy day. It was established by President Wilson in 1919 as Armistice Day, a year after the armistice ending the Great War, is what it was called at the time, was signed. And specifically, we focus on when that armistice went into effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Interestingly, in 1954, at the behest of a fellow named Alvin King in Emporia, Kansas, it changed from Armistice Day to Veterans Day. And they had the first parade of Veterans Day in 1953 in Emporia. In the words of one writer, this celebration is to honor America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. So what is a veteran? Well, it depends how you're asking and what you're asking. There certainly are differences among veterans. Some serve on land, some on sea, some under the sea, some in the air, some in space. From the frigid mountains in Korea to the sweltering jungles of Vietnam, every vet has his or her own stories. Some were brave, others were not tasked. Some deployed, others served in the homeland. Some saw combat, others fortunate not to. Some served 20 or 30 years, some just served one hitch. Some carry wounds of their service, visible and invisible. Others don't. But what do veterans have in common? First, they took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That stays in your heart, even when you stop serving. In so doing, they made a pledge to protect the nation. They're routinely patriotic, although I've been told that you don't have to be a veteran to be patriotic, and that's true. A young fellow named Scotland Stewart this year won the first prize as a recipient of the VFW's Voice of Democracy writing program, defined the commonalities as honor, integrity, loyalty, and service. Some of you may know Bob Truan, who was retired vice president at Kansas State University, wounded as an NCO in Vietnam. He wrote about brothers willing to give their lives to save brothers nearby. He said, selfless service is something ethereal, almost spiritual, that few experiences other than military combat can deliver. And once you've been immersed in it, you'll treasure it always. Someone else wrote that veterans wear dog tags, have a DD-214, and walk the walk. And I like that, walk the walk. To me, veterans are distinguished because they each took a step on that walk. A step forward to enlist to serve, a step to get on the train or the bus heading to boot camp, and a step off to meet the smiling face of their new drill instructor, and more steps in their walk of service. And those steps echo in so many commands I could go on all day, but a few of them that are so familiar to veterans and maybe sound foreign to others. Put on your rucksacks, we're moving out, and you step forward. Drop the ramp and hit the beach for my Marines. Anchors away. Pitch pull in 5 seconds for helicopter pilots out there. Get up, Ranger, we're on the move. One of my favorites is standing in front of a tank company and feeling the ground vibrate underneath my boots, and then commanding, mount up. Different kind of step, but it's the same. If you're a submariner, dive, 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 pretty well says it. For pilots, cleared for takeoff and pressing the round top thrust levers at the command balls to the wall. And for paratroopers, that terrifying instant of stand in the door. Feeling the jump master's hand slap your rump and hearing go before you step into nothingness. There are so many more. The one that probably rings the truest and will be home to you came from on a step forward, comes from a naval aviator, astronaut named Neil Armstrong, who you remember said, "One small step for man, a giant leap for mankind." There's a lot of steps that go forward. Now, I used to think that landing on an aircraft carrier at night was probably the greatest level of courage. But now I think going over the top does. And let me explain. This will take us back where I began, to World War I. The war ran from 1914 to 1918, but it wasn't until mid-1918 that U.S. troops in the American Expeditionary Force actually entered the battles. And by then, most of the fighting had degenerated into trench warfare. Almost constant artillery barrages, one set of German guns so big that they had to read the French newspapers the next day to figure out where their rounds had landed. Muddy ground called no man's land between the two sides were huge craters, slowed movement, barbed wire, gas, ferocious machine guns. Trees, in most cases, were long gone. At the command of over the top, troops clambered up the ladders, their muddy trenches, and attacked, running toward the enemy with little cover, save for their own artillery, hoping that some of them would arrive at the enemy's trenches before they were mowed down. It was deadly and cruel. In November 1918, it would have been cold and quite likely damp. Such was the soldiers' grim lot. Earlier this year, I came across a letter written by my great-uncle, George Everly, then an infantry company commander in the 34th Infantry in France. It was written on November 11, 1918. Pardon me here. The first 5 times I read it, I choked up, and I won't do that. The day of the Armistice, to his fiancée in Texas, and the letter reads, "Dearest little Reem," I don't know how he got away with that, but it was a different time and they were both short of statures. "Today at 11 a.m., firing ceased according to the terms of the armistice. And I am writing to you, first of all, since the shells have stopped dropping near us. Night before last, we were 25 miles from here in rest billets. 8 hours later, we covered the 25 miles. I suspect they walked. And 2 hours after we arrived here, we're ready to go over the top. For a reason that I can't give here, we were held up, and now everything is quiet as a night in the desert in Texas. It seems so strange not to hear the booming of the heavies and the bursting of the shells. I saw Sanko yesterday just before we left for our starting positions. We shook hands and wished each other good luck quite solemnly. For at that time, we had no doubt that we were starting through the Bosch for," it's a blank line and continues, "I nearly wrote the name of the city, which is forbidden. Anyway, little lady," still getting away with it, "everything is bright and every day brings the time closer for our return to the States. I don't know how long peace will be. That, of course, depends upon the time it takes to conclude the peace and upon the arrangements for moving the troops home. I am growing more anxious every day to see you, and I am counting the days eagerly until we start. And then he continues on with his letter. Captain Eberly did return to America 5 months later, and a year after the armistice was signed, he and Reen began their 70 years of marriage. He had a full career in the United States Army, retiring as a Major General and serving as General MacArthur's G4 in the Pacific in World War II. They had a daughter and a son. George Jr. graduated from West Point in 1943 and landed in France with his parachute glider unit. He was killed on D-Day. So when you think of Veterans Day, I hope this letter will inspire your thoughts about our troops doing their duty in dangerous and far-off places. George Eberly was a young captain without much time as a soldier. He and his men were prepared, though, to walk the walk over the top. Imagine the wild range of emotions they experienced in the hours my uncle describes. Surely they were fearful. Perhaps some were terrified. Yet they had to resolve to do their duty, no matter how treacherous. Their bonds with their fellow soldiers inspired that resolve. Then came a disquieting uncertainty when the attack was held up. And finally, there was the elation from hearing that there was an armistice and the hope that the peace would endure. All of that happened in a few hours as the sun was coming up that morning in France on November 11th, 1918. Celebrating Veterans Day and honoring our vets on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month has now a new profound meaning for me, and I hope it will to you. I'm grateful that I could share my uncle's letter with you. General MacArthur once wrote, "The soldier above all others prays for peace, for he must suffer and bear the deepest wounds and scars of war." Let us pray for peace, always. Let us enjoy this happy day when we stop to honor our veterans. Thank them for wherever and whenever and however they served. They did their duty and walked the walk. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Webb. Colonel Webb and Dr. Mazachek have helped remind us of the humanity that lives in the word veteran. Veterans are not merely soldiers who have served our country, but they are men and women, sons and daughters, husbands and wives, friends. Their stories live on battlefields, the military bases, grave sites across America, across the globe. It is in the wounds and scars they have, both seen and unseen. Their stories live in the freedom we are blessed with today. We're going to pay a tribute to all veterans with a symbolic ring of the bell, especially for those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Dan Schmidt, retired Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, will toll the bell for us. Thank you, Dan. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Capital City Chorus. The Capital City Chorus has been bringing harmony to Topeka since 1946, performing an annual show and patriotic events like our ceremony today. They are directed by Jonathan Andrews. Please help me welcome them as they prepare to perform a medley of songs for us.
Hope this mic works. It does. Our first number today is the Armed Forces Medley. And so if you've served in a particular service when your service hymn is sung, please stand up. The order will be the Coast Guard, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. We're working on Space Force, so enjoy.
Rising of the sun till the battle's fought and won, we will fight for the right and defend our country. We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our faith, our motto too. We're always ready to or die. High Coast Guard, we fight for you. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battle in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Da-da-da-da. Anchors aweigh, my boys, anchors aweigh. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. Through our last night on shore, drink to the foam. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home. First to fight for the pride and to build the nation's pride, and the army goes rolling along, rolls along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Let it die, hey, the army's on its way. Sound of your cadence loud and strong.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along, along. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Down we dive, starting to meet our thunder. And the boys, give it the gun, give it the gun. Down we dive, starting to bleed from under. Off we one hell of a roar. We live in fame, we'll go down in flame. Ain't nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force. And those are the great armed forces of America. We serve America at home or overseas. They serve America. all day. Home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Where the air is so good and the winds blow so free, the breeze is so balmy and light, that I would not exchange my home on the range for all of the city so bright, so bright. How often at night, when the heavens are bright, with the light from the glittering stars, how I stood there amazed and asked as I gazed, if their glory exceeds that of ours. Oh, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
And on our final song, it's one everybody knows, we will sing America the Beautiful through first time, and then after you hear the familiar verse, we will do what's called an overlay. So your task is the second time through, you will sing with Don Suffren, who will direct you on the verse while the chorus sings the overlay at the same time. So first time through, the chorus will do both of those, so you'll get a feel of what it is, and then Don Suffren, our associate director, will direct you in what you will be singing.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Let freedom ring, awakening the pride in every American, standing tall with one and all, our hearts united in the stirring strain. Oh, say, can you see the flag still waves in majesty? And we're together for the good and building brotherhood. Give us liberty, let freedom ring. Let freedom ring, awakening the pride in every American. Stand tall with one and all, our hearts united in the stirring strain. Oh, say, can you see the flag and we're together for the good and building brotherhood. Give us liberty, let freedom ring. America, America, America.
Thank you so much for that great music. Our friends with the Capital City Chorus come back year after year to entertain us and support our ceremony. We really appreciate them and their voices. Someone else we really appreciate and continues to support us, and the voice you've already heard, is Reverend Richard Souter. He's going to come back up and give our benediction. Reverend Souter, please join me again on stage.
O God, we offer praise and glory for you and all that you have given our nation. We thank you for the veterans who have given so much. They served then and returned home to enjoy the gifts by which you have bestowed upon our great nation. We will forever owe them our best as the bearers of the freedom paid for with blood, sacrifice, and honor. We ask you to continue to be with those who will serve in the days and years ahead in the honored traditions of our services. And so for your glory, as we go now, may we go in the full knowledge of your blessings for us and our posterity. I pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Souter. I touched briefly about Washburn's dedication to veterans and our new memorial. If you want to learn about all of Washburn's memorials, you can visit washburn.edu/memorials. This information is in your program. Also in your program is information about the PACT Act and Agent Orange. Agent Orange Awareness Day began in 1988 to recognize the harm done to soldiers exposed to its toxin, and Washburn University incorporated this recognition into our Veterans Day ceremony in 2008. We continue this tradition today by handing out orange carnations at the doors as you leave in honor of those affected. Please don't forget to get your carnation as you leave. We hope you can join all of us for our Veterans Day ceremony next year. Remembering and honoring our veterans should happen every day, but it's worth pausing a few times a year to be intentional about it. Thank you for coming today. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend.